Hey there, this is Old Time Radio, and I have another release for you today. This one I'm calling the NWN Omnibus. It's a collection of all sorts of reference material, including some saved off BioWare forums from the old BioWare site. It allows you to search multiple reference sources using one user interface, so it's very handy. It also comes back with some very quick searching, so you don't have to be online. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can keep all this stuff on your hard drive. Just requires about 500 megabytes of free space and your curiosity, and you can go pretty far with this. So right off the bat, this is based on a program called DocFetcher. DocFetcher is an open source program, and it works really well for indexing a buttload of HTML information. I've taken some PDFs and some CHM files like the Neverwinter Nights lexicon. I've converted those also into HTML. And then, of course, the rest of the files are in plain text. And let me just take a quick peek. I'll show you. After you unpack this to a directory, it's going to look a little bit like this inside. You're going to launch the program by double-clicking on DocFetcher if you're under Windows. If you're under Linux, I believe you just run the DocFetcher sh file. Okay, and all the good stuff's in the data folder. Okay, so that's going to contain all of the information in its raw form. These are like the full files for instance, all the 2DAs and so on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I've copied the shortcut onto the desktop, so I'm just going to go ahead and launch it here. And when it comes up, you're going to see the main UI. There's a couple of different aspects to this UI. Let's go over them really quickly, because this is kind of a fluid user interface. It's a little different than I'm used to using anyway. So notice these arrows. Okay, these arrows allow you to change how the interface is used, or how the interface displays itself. So when you first load it up, you're going to see this introduction, which is very useful, by the way. Scroll down, click on Query Syntax, and it'll show you all sorts of useful information about how to make really wicked, powerful queries, including boosting the weight, which will give a higher score, okay, to certain topics. Really, really useful for you. Okay, but this is what it's going to come up with, and if you don't like it, this result pane, or I guess the actual information window on the right here, you can just click this and it'll appear at the bottom. This whole user interface is very plastic. It's very pliable. You're going to be typing your searches into this field, and your results are going to be coming back here. And if you click on this guy, you're going to see the indices that we have to search against. Don't worry so much about this or these file types. This really is not important for our purposes. You can muck around with those later. But the main thing here is the information that we're actually going to be searching against. So these 2DA files are every single one of the 2DA files ever released with Neverwinter Nights officially, and they're all up to the latest. So some of these were last edited in 2003, some of them in 2008, but it all contains the very latest version of each one. This contains the documentation for the 3D Studio Max export scripts, and this was for the export scripts that BioWare released for 3D Studio Max back in 2003, I believe. This contains a great deal of extremely useful official information about how stuff works under the hood when it comes to models for Neverwinter Nights. An incredibly useful resource there. This is a good general reference. This is the BioWare for Developers document series, and these are 22 documents that BioWare released, pretty much describing every ding-dang thing about how Neverwinter Nights works under the hood, whether it's in the encounter format, the general format of the GFF files, item format, journal format, or the key BIF format. All of this stuff. These are all the full documents, all indexed, so that you can search them all at once. Okay. Then there's the BioWare forums. I saved these off right when they let us know that the old forums were going to go away and they were going to be replaced by the social site. This contains a few full archives, and so here's the archive for the Neverwinter Nights custom content. Now this is not the original, or this is not the normal custom content forum from the old site. This is the really, really old archive of the original custom content forum on the old site. There's a ton of useful information in here. Don't discount it. A lot of information came out till about 2002, 2003, or maybe even 2004. And then after that, information started to slow down. So having access to the really, really old stuff here is very powerful. BioWare news discussion, there's more interesting things and useful things in here for a custom content person than you'd guess. The custom content forum, again, this is the old custom content forum on the old site. Really useful stuff for developers, scripting, server admin, and tool set, okay? And these are just a few of those forums, but they're the ones that I chose to be a good representation, especially for custom content folks. And even for some of your Neverwinter scripters, although the information in here when it comes to quoted script, right, does not look very nice at all. So, you know, it's good for finding out different tricks that people might have used, but it's not going to display as nicely as it does if you do a Google search against the old site. Also, because I couldn't include all the forums, I included all of the stickies for all of the forums. So this is all of the stickies for all of the forums, and this is going to allow you to access some commonly sought after information for all the topics, not just the custom content, for instance, or just the scripting. Then you have a custom content guide. This is, of course, Eligio Sakatika's Bible of custom content, all converted into HTML and indexed, so you can pull up exactly what you want. Gmax help. This is the Gmax help file converted from CHM into HTML, and same thing with the Gmax Max script help. More people should be looking at these. You can answer a lot of questions about how to get into 3D Studio Max or how to Max script through these. And Max scripting is not much different than Neverwinter script anyway. Then the lexicon, which of course is another Bible of sorts for how to learn mostly how to do scripting stuff in Neverwinter Nights, but it also has a lot of information about constants and that sort of stuff. Tileset construction, this document is from BioWare, and it was released as sort of a one-off. There's information in this about tiles and custom content related to tiles, which you won't find anywhere else, so this is really useful. And then my own personal favorite here is the TXI files. And these are every single one of the TXI files ever that was released by BioWare in an official capacity. Yeah, outside of like the toolset beta, you know. Anyway, and they are sorted by the BIF that they came out of, just to give you a quick idea. All of these ones listed as Aurora, load screens, or textures, this and up, are from the original release of Neverwinter Nights. All the ones with XP1 are, of course, Shadows of Undertide, XP2, Hordes of the Underdark, XP2 patches, everything up to 1.68, and then XP3 is 1.69. So you can search within just, you know, certain ones of these or all of them at once, and you can learn a whole lot more about the way the TXIs are put together and different combinations that were used. There's still not a whole heck of a lot of information about TXIs, and I really rely on this a lot to help me put together different ideas. So, okay, so if you're used to using Google, this is going to be a lot easier. I think pretty much everybody uses Google anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and close this up, right, just like that. And I'm going to put in my first search. One real important thing is that if you're not a Google searcher, click on the preferences here and pay a lot of attention to how you want this to be done. Use OR operator as default in queries instead of AND, okay? So what that means is that if you type in DDS and TGA, you're going to get one set of results, in this case 612. But if you type in OR, you're going to get about 2,000. Okay, so again, your AND and your ORs make a lot of difference about what comes back on your search. And if you don't include anything and you just type in DDS space TGA, it's going to revert to this OR instead of AND. So it's really important that you, if you're not searching by putting in your own ANDs and ORs, that you know which setting this is set at and you are happy with it. Okay, and literally this is pretty much it. This works kind of like a web browser's information pane. If I'm looking to hunt up, for instance, Ragnarok MR4, but I can't remember how to spell his name, I'm just going to go Ragnarok. Okay, I'll put a star there. Okay, so when I hit that, going to come up with some different searches. Okay, and let's see if we can find him. A lot of people talking about, oh, Ragnarok. Okay, let's get that right. Ragnarok. And then I think there was an underscore there. Okay, so I'll do a wildcard there. Okay, here's his name. I want to say search on all of the things that he had to say about animations. So I do Ragnarok MR4 and animation, and I come back with 113 hits, okay? But what if I want to find about times that people have mentioned animation, then it wasn't Ragnarok MR4, okay? So then I do Ragnarok MR4, or actually I should do, I'll do animation, and then I'll put a little minus in front of Ragnarok MR4's name, and then I'll come back with all of the times that somebody other than Ragnarok MR4 mentioned animation. Okay. Now, again, as I mentioned, this works a lot like a web browser. Oh, well, geez, I want to go check a look at the previous search that I took a look at. You just move around just like this. You can refresh the page and stop it. This isn't too important. Open in an external browser you might wind up using. And again, you can use subsets of these. You can use them all depending on what your uses are for. You can, be only searching against certain things, and it'll actually update in this list. So if you unclick all the BioWare forums, you'll notice that this changes. In fact, you can literally start cutting down your responses until you're just getting Neverwinter Nights lexicon, for instance, in this case. Okay, so I'm up against the gun with the 15-minute limit for YouTube, but this should give you a pretty good idea how to use it. Learn more about DocFetcher, and you'll learn more how to use the Neverwinter Nights Omnibus and get the most out of it. You will enjoy this. Thanks.